Hello, my lovely anatomists and physiologists. We are ready to talk about the hormonal control of the male reproductive system. And so, of course, we have a lovely table. I have 6 rows and 4 columns. The first column is the hormone, second is released by, third is target tissue, and the last column is for the effect. So when we talk about our hormones, let's start first with gonadotropin releasing hormone, which is abbreviated GnRH. This is one we've talked about before. This is a releasing hormone. It's a regulatory hormone, so it's released by the hypothalamus. And we see that it targets the adenohypophysis. And it's going to increase the release of both LH and FSH. The LH stands for luteinizing hormone. Okay, luteinizing hormone is abbreviated LH. So we've just said that's being released by the adenohypophysis. And we'll see that this will target specifically your interstitial cells, which we can also call Leydig cells. And this is going to lead to an increase in the hormone testosterone. So let's go ahead and talk about testosterone as being released by the interstitial cells or Leydig cells. And the target's going to be widespread, because we're going to see testosterone is important in what we've described as secondary sex characteristics. So that's information about bone growth, muscle development. I'm going to say hairiness. So we see distribution of terminal or pubic hair, not only in the groin area and armpit area, but also on the face, chest, sometimes back, more pigmentation potentially on hair of the arms and legs. We see this involved in the libido. We see this involved in spermatogenesis. So in that regard, it's going to target those nurse cells. And what we'll see is elevated levels let me do it in red. Okay, so high levels of testosterone are going to inhibit the release of gonadotropin releasing hormone. So high levels of testosterone are going to inhibit the release of gonadotropin releasing hormone. Now we see that testosterone is released by the interstitial cells, but we also see that we have some that's released from adrenal glands. And we see this across body types. So we are getting some testosterone released in all body types. We're getting released about, let's say, 6 to 7 milligrams per day. So this is a constant flooding of the body. Okay, we also talked about gonadotropin releasing hormone triggering the luteinizing hormone as well as the follicle stimulating hormone, which is abbreviated FSH. So again, this is being released by the adenohypophysis. And this time we're going to be targeting those nurse cells, or we can also call them the Sertoli cell. The nurse cell, remember, is around the spermatogonia and kind of coordinating that whole process of spermatogenesis. So this release of follicle stimulating hormone, or FSH, is going to promote spermatogenesis. We're also going to see it's going to trigger release of both androgen binding protein and inhibin. So let's go next to androgen binding hormone, or it's actually androgen binding protein. And this is abbreviated ABP. And we've just said that that's released by those nurse cells. And so this one is going to bind to testosterone to keep levels high. So it's not really like a hormone, it's a protein that's being released, but it has this important job in signaling. And we also see that it stimulates, what did we say, spermiogenesis. And I have one more to add. So I didn't give myself enough rows, so give yourself an extra row here. We're going to add inhibin, which we saw was coming as a result of the follicle stimulating hormone. And the inhibin we see is released by the nurse cells. And we see that the inhibin is going to target adenohypophysis. And it's going to inhibit FSH. So let me get my red pen, and I'm gonna draw a line from inhibin to the follicle stimulating hormone, and then I'm gonna do my two, I made a mess of that. I'm gonna draw like my equal sign to show the inhibition. So if you stop the production of the follicle stimulating hormone, then we're going to see that triggers a drop in the anti-androgen binding protein. So our testosterone levels are going to be going down. So when we have the inhibin released, we kind of slow down the production of sperm cells. And when we get testosterone levels very high, we kind of shut down the gonadotropin releasing hormone. As soon as your testosterone levels drop, then your gonadotropin releasing hormone will increase. So then you're kind of keeping this system hormone production in regulation. All right. Up next, we have the sexual response. So stay tuned. And as always, take care of yourselves and each other.